Flashback.
Yeah.
But I don't want to see a Punjabi Prison match.
I think we're quite safe from seeing a Punjabi Prison match.
4 to 6 days later.
Because at Battleground, it will be you and me locked in a Punjabi Prison match.
End of flashback.
Hello again. Welcome to episode 6 of Smarks for Attitude. And this episode, we are going to talk about Battleground, which happened on Sunday just gone. It's Tuesday evening here in sunny London whilst we record this. So, Harry, Battleground.
Ooh. Tell you what, I will ask you, what did you think of this pay-per-view?
I'll be honest, as I was watching it, I didn't think it was as bad. It was only when I rewatched certain elements of it when I realised what a complete and utter bollocks this pay-per-view was.
Did you watch this live? Again,
no, I didn't watch it live. I have the luck, some would say, of being able to work from home in my job, and on Monday mornings, sometimes I work from home to watch things that happen on Sundays, so Game of Thrones and pay-per-views. So I watched it on Monday morning, didn't think much of it the first time round, but I gave it a kind of second viewing for the main points, and so I got a bit more out of it that way, and it was truly dreadful.
I was told, because I watched this on a Monday evening, so I have to do the social media blackout, can't look at anything on Google, anything, because it always somehow links to it, even though wrestling's in a bit of a downward spiral at the moment. I was told that this was a bad show, so I mentally prepared myself. I watched Game of Thrones before, and it was probably the worst show I've seen for quite a month. I know that's a bit of hyperbole because, it's a wrestling podcast, accentuate the negative sides. But this was probably the first show in a very long time where I've generally wanted to skim it. Had I not had to write notes for this episode, I would have gladly have just read the results and just skimmed through matches just to see some of the action. But watching it it was 3 hours and 10 minutes altogether. And then you got the hour pre-show. It was a long evening.
Way too long for a brand-specific pay-per-view.
Jesus, yeah. I think, easily the worst pay-per-view we've watched since starting this podcast, and I cannot remember a WWE show as bad as this one. I mean, you'd have to go back to maybe last year at some point, and even that I'm struggling to think what was as bad as this. Well,
with that in mind, let's us begin. So, as always, I don't watch the pre-shows. So, Harry, what happened on the pre-show for Battleground?
I will skim through this. It wasn't a very eventful one. It's typical, remind you of all the feuds. You realise how the evil foreigner shtick gimmicks or angles are entirely throughout this show.
Mm-hmm.
Lawler was on the booth. He talked about Santa Claus. Do you remember Santa Claus?
Rings a bell.
The evil Santa. I think he had a black beard.
Yeah, that's the one, yeah.
Carmella came out. To her credit, she is selling herself well as the only 2-time Mrs. Money in the Bank winner.
Mm-hmm.
What do you call it? She had a few rogue chants, which is unusual because most of the time when they're on the booth and they're talking, it's very unusual for anyone to even make mention of them. But she tried to get the heat back by telling them that they needed to chant for her, and then they shouted back that she can't wrestle, so that was completely pointless. And then we had a interview with Maria and Mike Kanellis. Obviously there we see Mike's ring gear in the actual pay-per-view, but it's tacky as fuck.
I quite like his ring gear, but
I did. It's just it suits the gimmick. It's so pink.
Yeah, it's just sickly, lovey, isn't it? That's his gimmick.
The only because they were doing the what is it called, social media lounge, so they answer questions from predetermined, pre-picked Twitter handles from the WWE. Someone asked if Maria would ever get back in the ring, and she said she was always in the ring, which made me laugh.
Very funny.
But they seem to be going well, with their gimmick of being completely enamoured with one another. And I had high hopes that his match with Sami Zayn, even though it was a repeat from SmackDown, would be better.
More on that later.
Our pre-show Mattel action figures main event is Aiden English versus Ty Dillinger. It's Ty's second match in 2 months, and I think previous to that, his last 3 were all with Aiden English.
Really?
Yeah, I believe so. Ties. I always knew he would struggle on main roster.
Is he actually?
He got over with Fulsa.
Is he actually over still?
I think the gimmick is he's like when people used to like point out to Daniel Bryan saying, "Oh, he's not over. It's the S and the No's that are over."
No, Daniel Bryan was over, but
he was. What I think with Ty, unfortunately, he's a little bit over, but the 10 is over because you get 10s every fucking aspect of the show.
He was only ever hired as a job guy, and then obviously he got a decent gimmick and he got over as a singles competitor in NXT, done it again. And then, he's kind of been brought up, or he had that good pop at the Rumble at number 10, obviously, and then he got the call up and you kind of thought, okay, there's something to him, maybe mid-card on a brand, he might be good. But no, they appear to have just reverted him back to his job status.
Exactly that. Aiden English, what do you think of his Broadway persona? Like far more than he was with the Vaudevillains.
Well, before the Vaudevillains, this was his gimmick on NXT ages ago, wasn't it? He used to come out and sing.
Yes.
And do his kind of Broadway / musical, whatever he is.
He's fully trained as well.
Well, yeah, there you go. So that's just a case of someone in the back going, wait, you can sing? Guess what your gimmick's going to be?
Yeah. Well, to start with, English is already in the ring. He doesn't have any entrance music, or they didn't show on TV.
Brilliant.
He sings a promo, much to the crowd's indifference, which was probably a telltale sign of how the crowd was going to be throughout the entire night. JBL nonchalantly comments what range, with the least amount of passion imaginable.
Wonderful.
Remember when heel commentators used to love other heels?
Yeah, so heel commentators would support the heel. The other commentators or the play-by-play would be quite face and disagree.
They just don't do that anymore. The other thing is English's tights. They're good, but they're completely wasted on the pre-show. I think they were a literal copy-paste of a art piece they did mention on the pre-show, but I just didn't have time to write it down.
I see.
The match is pretty much a standard, I keep saying television match, but it really is. English breaks out into song, like following a headlock. It is slow. Crowd is not into it whatsoever. Dillinger escapes at one point to take the advantage, goes for a top rope nothing and gets countered with a drop kick. There's some sloppy... You know when you play WWE 2K and you've got it's the mechanic where you've got a guy in a pinfall and then he counters it and then he'll reverse that pinfall and then you counter it and he does it. They did that in this match. It was sloppy.
Right.
And then just to top it off, English... I mean, Dillinger definitely winning this, but English actually manages to win for the shock through with the director's cut, I think his finishing move is. It's a full Nelson sort of slam.
I see. Aiden English gets a win on pre-show.
Yeah, I was shocked. Crowd was completely indifferent to it, which is probably a story of this pay-per-view. And that was the end of the pre-show. There's nothing really else to point out on there.
Okay, interesting. So
not really.
No, not really. Okay, so we move from pre-show to the main show, Battleground 2017. I can't really think of a good Battleground event. Can you?
No, I can't. I'm struggling to think. What was last year? Was that was that the Shield Triple Threat?
Actually, I believe it was, and that wasn't too bad.
No. That's why I'm struggling to think of any others.
Do you remember Battleground 2013, which I believe was the first one, which was one of the 2 or 3 matches between Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton that ended with a vacant title?
I do know you've said that, yes.
Because I believe Battleground 2013 was the Battleground where the Big Show came out and KO punched Bryan and Orton, I think, and it ended up in a no contest duel.
Oh, nice fuck you finish back in 2013.
Oh, well, we've got some more fuck you finishes to discuss.
So get that over.
Why don't we start with one match on the card that didn't have a shit finish. It had quite a good finish, if anything. The New Day going up against the Usos for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship. The New Day won this match and won their first SmackDown Tag Championship. They won in 13 minutes 50 seconds via pinfall, which came from a beautiful, very long distance elbow drop from Woods. This match was a good match, a pretty good opener to any pay-per-view card, I'd say. And this was the best match on the card. That's pretty much all I've got for this. I just quite enjoyed it. I don't mind watching the New Day. I'd actually really dislike the Usos, but I actually like them as heels. I think that's a nice change of pace for them. But yeah, New Day win. They were always going to win these titles eventually. I'm surprised they didn't prolong it until SummerSlam, maybe. But that also makes me think that the SmackDown Tag Team Championships aren't going to be on SummerSlam.
No, I don't think so. They won't have to, and then they won't relegate it to the pre-show either. I thought it was a decent match with some really good big spots, as the aforementioned. Is it Springboard Elbow, isn't it?
Yeah, he basically, it's like the coast to coast, but as an elbow.
Yeah. I thought the action between the big spots was a bit methodical and slow. Maybe it's the fact that we've seen these two wrestle previously, and because the New Day have been quite, heavily featured as a tag team, as well as the Usos for that matter. Everything seemed very familiar. It was very safe. As you do so rightly say, it was the match of the night.
Yep.
I was happy with the result, a bit confused again, like yourself, that it wasn't safe to SummerSlam. Yeah, it was fine. It was fine.
Yeah, so we're agreed. It was okay. So we move on to Shinsuke Nakamura vs Mr. Money in the Bank, Baron Corbin. This match was pretty shit and boring. Nakamura won the match via disqualification when, after 12 minutes, 25 seconds, Corbin low-blowed Nakamura. This was... I don't really know this match. This is one of the matches that when I first watched it, I didn't think nothing to it. I thought the finish was pretty shit. I wasn't that negative on it, but then this is one of the matches I rewatched. And yeah, these guys don't work well together. I thought it was quite hard-hitting, which is a match style that suits Nakamura, and he kind of... I mean, I know it's a different world, but in New Japan, obviously, he used to have hard-hitting matches every week, and he'd just excel in smashing the shit out of someone. It was hard-hitting, but it plodded along, very crappy pace. They don't really work well together. There were so many bear hugs. I mean, three bear hugs.
That was at least two too many for that crowd who were not happy with it.
I think I think this match killed the crowd. I think this match had an adverse effect on crowd reactions for the rest of the night. That's how badly set out this match was.
I don't think the crowd was particularly good anyway, because even on the pre-show, they didn't really react to anything. I know it's pre-show, and I know they probably don't give a toss about English or Dillinger. They weren't good for it, but this match was just... I keep saying TV match because it's basically... There's no reason whatsoever to schedule this on pay-per-view for the level of action you're receiving. You wouldn't pay for this to watch it. Sorry, go on.
Just to say, there was one funny moment during the match when... You know how they let JBL mention New Japan and the IWGP title?
He's allowed to mention a bit per show.
So he's allowed to bring it up, obviously, but when mentioned this time, he incorrectly said that Nakamura had won the IWGP heavyweight title from Hiroki Goto, which is obviously incorrect. I think he won his first belt by beating Tenzan. Could be wrong on that. But yeah, Goto's never won the big one, much to his fans' chagrin. But there you go.
That'll be on Butcher
wrong on that. Yeah. Oh no, it will be. Matthew has already tweeted about it.
Excellent
but
stuff.
Yeah, I'm very perplexed by the finish, because it's just he's gonna knee him. So Corbin sits down, doesn't get up. So he goes and picks him up. Corbin then low blows him. He wins. I'm trying to figure out what this finish was supposed to do, because these kind of finishes with a non-finish, someone not eating a pin, it's supposed to try and keep them both strong, so neither takes a pin. But I just don't think it had that effect. And that confuses me a little bit, because historically, a Money in the Bank winner does sometimes go on a bit of a run where they lose matches. And that's I always think of Ziggler, when Ziggler won the briefcase and he held it for a while, and he actually had a prolonged period of losing, and he was jobbing quite a lot. And then obviously when he cashed in against Del Rio, the pop was humongous because the crowd obviously bought into that kind of, oh, he's Money in the Bank, but he loses, blah, blah, blah. And that doesn't really seem to happen anymore, because even when Seth won it and he held it for ages, he obviously won quite a lot and he was being pushed. We didn't have it last year because Ambrose cashed in the night he won it. So yeah, I'm a bit baffled by this finish. I'm not entirely sure what it was supposed to achieve. And this match left a sour taste in both the viewer at home and in the crowd.
I think you've hit the nail on the head where the booking, on paper, it means, well, no one loses, technically. You know, they don't give the visual pinfall.
Yeah,
loss.
Obviously Nakamura won on paper like by DQ. Not that anyone ever counts DQ as a win, really, in terms of like booking to stay strong or booking someone as a push or whatever. But he then got laid out at the end of the match with an end of days, a very brilliantly executed end of days, I'll say that. That is
the momentum is a good finish.
That is a move that I do enjoy. I think is a very good move and suits him well. So yeah, I don't know what they're doing with this. Obviously, Corbin's going to cash in eventually and probably be the WWE champion. They
definitely see something in him.
Which
if he loses.
Which you'd never think would be an upgrade on the current champion. But again, we'll get to that.
I was going to say, with regard to the booking, it seems a bit like, I guess, is it oxymoron would be the term, where it's or a conundrum or a contradiction, where nobody loses, but everybody technically loses because we don't get a clear-cut winner. Nakamura isn't impressive at all in this match. He hasn't been since he's got up to the main roster.
I was just going to bring that up, actually.
Okay, should we bring it up now?
What are your feelings towards Nakamura since he came up from NXT?
Immensely disappointed.
Do you think?
I can't tell if it's... Sorry, go on.
Why do you think that? Do you lay that on him? Do you lay that on the booking? Do you think that they could do better, that they're wasting him? Or do you think that they're just filling it? Part of me thinks that they're just giving him stuff to coast along with at the moment, and that eventually he might get some kind of big match or maybe a run with the belt. Although I find that hard to see right now. But there's there's part of me that thinks that he's in a holding pattern. He's having these little feuds. He had Ziggler, couldn't get a good match out of Ziggler, which is, a motivated Ziggler can get a good match out of most people. And he's now on Corbin. I suppose if they're going to go with Corbin as the champion soon, they're maybe using him to make Corbin look strong, but also not making him look weak. I don't know. There's part of me that hopes that this big hyped AJ Nakamura Wrestle Kingdom 10 rematch, maybe at an event like WrestleMania next year, could be like his big main coming out party on the main roster to the American audience. I don't know. But I think back to his NXT booking last year and the year before, and it just pales in comparison. It's just, he was so good on NXT, even when, like, at some points people were criticising him back then as well. But I think compared to now, it's kind of like, why did they ever bring him up?
Again, I can't tell if it's a combination of where his strong style, where he's quite stiff, can't work on the main show because he'll end up injuring loads of people, no matter how safe he is.
I think he's quite safe. I think he's tailored his style to the WWE style, so I think he actually does quite well with looking like it's strong style, but obviously it's not. Nothing he does on the main roster so far, or probably ever since, like the Zayn match. The Zayn match was as hard as you get. You could stick that Sami Zayn match in NXT, and you could probably put that on a New Japan show, and it would probably fit in quite well. That was a really hard hitting, smash strong style.
Absolutely.
And I think since he has tailored himself to the main roster style, but
the problem is it's quite slow and methodical. The Zayn match, which was probably a lot of people's first ever match with Nakamura, was such an eye opener because it literally was a carbon copy of the New Japan style, where it's very hard hitting, a lot of stiff shots.
Yep.
Whereas now he's expected to wrestle. His first two feuds have thus far been against a guy that's been with the company for nearly a decade.
Sounds right, yep.
Who is ingrained with the WWE style, where it's safe, it's quick, but above all else, again, it's safe. Corbin is a graduate of the NXT developmental system where he only really knows the WWE style.
Yep.
So it's a lot of grapple based. It's very, it's more razzmatazz and show, not instead of trying to legitimately sell it as some sort of sport or combat sport.
Also, Corbin, I probably could look at stats, or maybe, I don't know, cagematch.net might have his actual results, but is there a possibility that at least half of all of Corbin's matches under the WWE umbrella have been squash matches?
Well, NXT, he spent
months,
a good portion of that year. He was undefeated. And then when he did lose, I mean, it was always like, fluke or something. I always remember with Aries and stuff where, they just scrape a win, but he would be largely dominant. So, which is going back to the original point of how this match was booked. That made sense, and that was a better way of ingraining that Corbin was strong.
Yeah,
because at the end of the day, I mean, Nakamura's in his mid-30s,
nearly 40, I think.
Nearly 40.
I need to double check that, but I don't think he's mid-30s. I think he's a bit older than that.
The way he's currently booked doesn't indicate at any point he's ever going to amount to a world champion in the WWE. Corbin, however, I definitely see. I mean, he's Mr. Money in the Bank at the moment. He definitely has a future. They see something in him. Whether it's just selling T-shirts or getting through programs with other wrestlers. But this match didn't do anyone any favours. It was slow. It was boring. It just adds up again to Nakamura. I mean, we're lucky. We know he can accomplish great things, but he just hasn't done that on the main roster yet. He's had one good tease with AJ at Money in the Bank, but everything else other than that has been just very average. And
he's kind of over because, I mean, when he's got a classic theme song, his entrance music, even it makes I hear that theme song start, I actually go, "Ooh, Nakamura!" I love his entrance. I love that thing, and that brings me to a quick point that I think it's Meltzer that brings this up. Actually, he's 37, by the way. I just checked, and he was pretty beat up in New Japan because of obviously the differences in style. He's 37. In the WWE, he is probably earning quite a lot more money than he was in New Japan. He is probably working more matches due to house shows and stuff like that. The WWE schedule is grueling, as it's very well known. But he's not exerting himself physically in anything near the New Japan style that's expected of the performers. And there is an argument that Meltzer has said this a few times, that he's pretty much, he could earn good money whilst coasting on his charisma. And he has got enough charisma that's actually plausible. But obviously, as a fan of him from Japan and as a fan of him from most of his NXT run, I'd quite like to see him go back to his classic style where he just kicks the shit out of people and he gets the shit kicked out of him. And it's just grueling and fun. Really cool, old school in many ways, wrestling. And I don't think there's anyone on the current roster, minus AJ, that could bring that out of him right now, which is why I'm fairly desperate for that match to happen. And I'm hoping it's a WrestleMania match, because I have a feeling that if you say to those two, right, WrestleMania, it will probably be mid-card, but we'll give you 20 minutes and they'll smash the shit out of each other and they'll steal the show. I have absolutely zero doubts about that. But yeah, I just don't really know what they're going to do with him. This match was rubbish and very disappointing, and it was the start. This was the start of the bad portion of the pay-per-view, which consisted of every match bar one.
I was going to say as well, I think it's quite disheartening to hear that you're willing to settle till WrestleMania for one match. Like that far along, I mean, he's going to be stagnating the entire time.
It's not so much that I'm settled, it's just I'm thinking that that's what their plan probably is, and so be it. Even if that's like his peak, if that's when he peaks, he has a WrestleMania moment having an absolute barn burner against AJ, then so be it. There's enough Nakamura matches and he's achieved enough in his career that if he doesn't reach the pinnacles of the WWE, then so be it, whatever. Then I think he can live with that, and I think his fans can. But so far on the main roster, he hasn't been given a platform to perform to the best of his abilities. I don't think they've given him enough to motivate him to do that either. But again, I mean, that's just speculating and me being a fan, but there you go.
Yeah, it's just I always think Nakamura is going to have an uphill struggle with similar to a lot of other Japanese stars, because although he can cut promos in English, it's trying to get over with your average wrestling fan, which is just going to think, oh, he speaks funny. I don't understand what he's talking about.
That's what Vince McMahon thinks of his fans.
Oh, no, well, it applies to, it's not just Japanese wrestlers. I mean, they go for fucking Becky Lynch as well, which is hilarious, and a hilarious comparison. But,
Becky.
I don't know. But just to end this match, it was a boring match. Shocked that Nakamura, again, has not really delivered on pay-per-view. Does no one any favours, and little did I know that it would only get worse from here.
Well, quite. Okay, we move on. So we had a 5-way elimination match for the number one... Is this the number one contenders match for the Women's SmackDown Championship?
Exactly that, yeah.
Okay, so Charlotte vs Becky vs Tamina vs Lana vs Natalya. This match went 11 minutes, and Natalya got the win with that stupid fucking bottom buckle roll-up. I don't even know what it is, but this is like the third one that they've done in the last year. We'll get to it in a minute. Naomi, the SmackDown Women's Champion, served on commentary throughout the match. She is dull as fuck.
She's not a talker on that commentator's box.
She's just,
bless her.
Oh, she's got nothing about her. I mean, actually, I think I find her gimmick and all that, and she's put all that stuff on the belt. I find that quite interesting. It's different. It sets her apart. Her entrance.
I thought my network player was breaking apart when her title was obviously lit up. It's been modified, and I thought, oh shit, my stream's breaking apart, and then realised, oh, it glows up.
Yeah,
I mean, it looks really cheap though. I have to admit, when the black light goes off, the belt looks like plastic.
Yeah, it's completely ruined when the light's not on. But yeah, so yeah, this match was all right, I guess. It was just a typical multi-women's match. Seriously, as attractive as she is, and I'm fairly certain that's the only reason she's involved in these matches, but why the fuck is Lana still wrestling? She obviously doesn't have it in her to do it, so she brings these matches down entirely, and it just baffles me when the amount of women over on Raw that are actually pretty much sitting out, not doing anything, could be utilised. I mean, tell me how not even trading her for anyone, you put Emma in this division and let her wrestle, that doesn't improve it.
But I presume that she's pissed someone off backstage.
Well, going by
Raw, being Australian or something, they can't understand what she's saying.
Going by Raw, she clearly has with that. I mean, Nia Jax basically punked her, but anyway, it doesn't matter. So yeah, and again, Becky Lynch made to look a bit strong, but then she took a pin. She got rid of Lana and Tamina, I believe, with the disarmer.
You're forgetting there was some dumb spots in this match. Obviously, it's an elimination match. So the key is to just survive. It doesn't really matter as long as you don't get eliminated. So we had a stupid spot where Lana breaks up a sharpshooter to go for a pin on Charlotte. And then immediately after that, Tamina breaks up a disarmer from Becky on Lana. And then she gets locked in herself and taps. So she ends up getting eliminated first, breaking up a submission on another wrestler.
Yeah, so when it's like fatal four-way or one pinfall wins the match, then heels teaming up to try and take out the baby faces kind of makes sense in a way. But when it's elimination, you should just be... If someone's about to tap to Becky Lynch's armbar, you just stand back and wait for them to tap because that's one less competitor. It's just stupid.
It's nonsense. It's just common sense. It just makes the ladies look very stupid.
Yeah. Okay, so there was 3 eliminations in 30 seconds, which was rushed to hell, I suppose. Especially when
how long was the match again? Sorry, Reese?
It went 11 minutes, and from what I understand, there were 3 eliminations up until about the 8-minute mark, and then Natalya and Charlotte had 3 minutes, which was the best 3 minutes of the match, obviously.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Those two can very competently wrestle. I was going to say as well, I didn't keep track of them, but if you ever rewatch this match for whatever reason, count the amount of rollouts but don't take shots of alcohol because you'll probably die. Or if you just want to stick to water, you'll probably drown. It was literally rollermania.
Well, I'm not going to rewatch it, but I'll take your word for it.
No one's going to fucking rewatch this.
Okay, yeah. So we ended up with Natalya and Charlotte, and then this spot, this kind of rolling them up so their back of their head hits the bottom turnbuckle and sort of knocks them out spot has been used. This is about the third time it's been used in a women's match in WWE this year, or in the last year, because I can recall it happened to Bayley on Raw, or it happened to Sasha against someone. I can't quite remember the specifics, but they go for a roll up, or they roll them up so that the back of their head hits the bottom turnbuckle, and it's a free count. And I don't quite understand the fascination with this spot, but yep, that's how Natalya won. Natalya is the number one contender. She's still playing the heel, even though she's pretty much liked by anyone who watches Total Divas, because she's a bit crazy with cats, and people like cats. So, yeah, it's just an odd situation. They had a kind of stare down where Naomi stood in the middle of the ring whilst Natalya went up the ramp, jaw-jacking to each other. Naomi, she just doesn't carry herself as a champion. It just looks really awkward. And
that's a good point, actually. Yeah, I fully agree with that.
Yeah.
She doesn't come across as a wrestler as such, larger than life. She just comes across as a woman who happens to be carrying around a Bratz light-up belt.
Just think about what Charlotte is like with a belt around her waist, what Sasha Banks is like with a belt, what even like Bayley's like with a belt, because obviously she goes for the whole, childhood wonderment of having a belt and all that. Even fucking Alexa Bliss carries herself as a champion. But Naomi's just standing there like, yeah, come on, we're going to go. Why don't we go right now? No? Oh, okay. See ya. And it's just really rubbish. And the SmackDown women's division is pretty poor, I think, right now.
We need to dub that over that match.
Well, maybe.
Just that mindset.
And again, I'll just say this division feels like it's in just one big holding pattern until Vince eventually gives the belt to Charlotte, and she'll probably just hold it for ages until whatever happens to her in terms of brands and stuff going forward. She's destined to get that belt. She's a face on here for some reason. I think very similar to her father, she does all her best work as a heel, but I suppose they don't really have many heels in the women's division in SmackDown. So yeah, that's that match.
It gives her a bit of a refresh, I suppose, because she's just been a heel for years now,
but
isn't
she's
she?
Good at it. She's good at it.
No, she is. No, don't get me wrong, but I think it looks like eventually it's going to be some sort of Becky and Charlotte feud for the belt. So they're just sowing the seeds of that. I thought this was an all right match. Lana needs help. Everyone looks all right.
Get her out of the ring. Seriously,
oh no, I agree.
So bad.
Get her back to being a manager. Get her back with Rusev.
Just get her just being attractive every week and doing her thing. She's a really good promo as a manager, I think.
Yes, exactly. She doesn't need to wrestle.
She's clearly very talented at everything else in wrestling apart from wrestling. But I say, less said about that now, the better, so we can move on. 2, AJ Styles defending his newly won US title at a MSG house show against Kevin Owens, the new face of America. This match, we'll get to the ending and the specifics of the ending and the information that's since come out about the ending, or the finish rather. This match ended with Kevin Owens winning by some sort of roll-up that wasn't a roll-up. God knows. Again, we'll get into that. 17 minutes 50. This match, again, I was left very disappointed by this match.
It was dull, wasn't it?
On paper, someone tells me AJ Styles vs Kevin Owens, it will go 18 minutes. I just think to myself, those two blokes can definitely put on a great 18-minute match. It just, of all the people on that roster, you'd think safe pair of hands all round, do it, have a good match. There was a lot of rest holds and headlocks. I think Owens had him in a headlock for ages. And of all the wrestlers on the roster that can pull off that kind of move, it is Owens because of the way he trash talks whilst he does it.
I was going to say George X, doesn't he?
He's quite interesting with that. He can pull that off. But yeah, there was just something off with this match. Owens didn't step on his face again whilst he did his entrance. I always get a kick out of that.
Did you hear JBL's comments just before the match started?
No.
He said Owens told him that losing the title at MSG was the most embarrassing moment of his life. I presume he completely forgot about Goldberg.
Getting squashed by Goldberg in 40 seconds or whatever it was.
14 or something. Something stupid.
Well, there you go.
Another comment for you, Matthew. Take it, son.
Yes.
I knew from that moment that there was going to be something wrong with this match. It was kind of like setting it up for just how dull and methodical it was. There was some very good high spots, some very,
yeah, they're both
Styles and Owens, but it's
they're
just
both great workers, and Styles is still the best wrestler that the WWE have to offer by a country mile. If anyone ever talks about the best wrestlers in the world right now, definitely top 3, top 5. It's just
yeah, definitely,
100%. Yeah, this match I was disappointed with this match. I didn't think it was a bad match. I just thought that they could do better.
I felt like they never left third gear.
No.
They kind of just toodled along at their own pace with spots that we've seen previously, seen better, and transitions that had no pace or momentum.
Yeah, agreed. Any key moments in this match? The torture rack spot he does, the little nod to Luger. I always enjoy that.
But Vince hates it.
Styles. Does he? I quite like it when he does that.
No, I said Vince, but he hates it.
Well, probably. Yeah, there was... And then, might as well get to the finish. Okay, so there was they reversed and applied submissions between themselves for a few moments, and then Owens kind of did a roll up, got hooked a leg. Styles clearly had a shoulder up. The ref was groggy from his bump, and he counted 3. And as he was counting the 3, there was 100% definitely he was apprehensive, and he counted it because he has to count it. That's his job, and they do work that as a shoot in many ways. But yeah, he counted the 3. Immediately, Owens rolled out. His music hit. Styles looked as though something was wrong. He then supposedly, Owens hung around the ring with the belt for a little while, longer than what you'd expect. Styles argued with the ref quite a lot. He stayed in the ring for a long time arguing with the ref. Apparently, he only left the ring just before the next match started, arguing with the ref quite visibly. A lot of people in the crowd during the event, I've seen on Twitter and Reddit, there was a very confused atmosphere in the arena. Everyone thought that something was wrong. There was no replays of the finish whatsoever on either television or in the arena on the big screen. And yeah, the match was ended. Owens wins the belt back, so they've hot-shotted the belt, which is never good for any belt. And yeah, apparently this was a botched finish. And I'm not sure apparently the finish was supposed to be AJ won, because the odds and the smart money came in about 30 minutes before the show started, and AJ was massive favourite to win this match with the bookies.
I did write in my notes when this was happening, this is a very awkward 3 count, and then, Owens has won. Yeah. I presumed immediately, this is it's not a fuck you finish, but more of a, finish, where Owens has won screwy. But it's kayfabe, it's part of the storyline. It's like, he's won because the ref didn't see his shoulders were pinned down as well. But then you look and you realise that Styles has got a shoulder up or something. It looked fucking weird. The referee does like 2 counts, and there's like a pause for the 3rd one. Like if you watch it on replay, it is dead obvious that he is looking at the shoulders, and he's just minor hesitation before he counts it. Because as you rightly point out, the orders from Vince are referees call it as a shoot. They cannot drop kayfabe and go, no, this is what I've not been told by the agents. We've got to finish this with Styles winning. Yeah, no, you're right. It was very odd. And again, it was odd. Another odd finish. I do think it's telling as well that do you watch Talking Smack? No. That's why it's getting cancelled. I blame you for this. Internet wrestling community. It's him. He did it. Owens, obviously, because obviously they keep the winners on Talking Smack. Owens was there. He didn't really talk much about the finish. He talked about everybody else, but he didn't either in character. Again, this is where I was thinking, maybe it's just a case of, he's just keeping up saying, I've won the belt, but, let's not talk about how I won the belt. That's part of his character. Didn't he do a little nod to Kenny and the Young Bucks by saying he was the elite Yes, a bit of a sledgehammer shot. It was very unsubtle, but
Vince would love that if he knew who the Elite were. So there you go.
yeah. I've heard of this new tag team called the Young Dollars.
Okay, are you done talking about this match? Okay.
Yeah, it was dull.
It was
Shockingly dull.
Yeah.
Luckily, Reese, lucky for you, Super Cena and Rusev are here to save Battleground. That's my exact notes I've put in here.
So John Cena's triumphant return to SmackDown, which was a massive ratings boost for SmackDown. In fact, I think it was 4th of July, wasn't it? And Meltzer splooged about the ratings, basically saying it was a humongous number for the 4th of July.
Have you missed him?
Who? Cena? Yeah, I'll tell you what, I used to hate John Cena, but as I get older and he gets older, I really quite enjoy him now.
I think he's great outside of wrestling. Obviously, he's their MVP. He still is because of the ratings boost.
Yep.
The promo package for this match, however, kind of validated what drove me mad. Well, some of the elements of Cena that drives me mad, where it's literally America, fuck yeah, come in round, save the motherfucking day, yeah.
Why have they gone Americana with him? I find it quite strange.
Well, he always kind of has, and he came back on July 4th, and he's fighting against evil Rusky, or Bulgarian at this point.
He's back to being Bulgarian now.
Thank God. I mean, Vince probably thinks they're all part of the same fucking block anyway, so he probably thinks it's still going on. They mentioned, forgot to mention, the commentators gave such little fucks about the women's match, they talked about fucking Rocky. Literally went on for about 2 minutes about, Rocky fighting the Russians. I'm like, fucking hell. Finger on the pulse, lads. Christ.
Good film, that, actually.
Oh, that one, yeah, that's with the robot.
Yeah, and is it Hearts of Fire?
Oh, yeah. And
or Hearts on Fire. Which one is it?
It's Hearts on Fire Living in America by James Brown.
Brilliant.
That is a great fucking film.
It's a great film, yeah.
It is. That was my first Rocky.
It might have been mine, actually. But yes, we digress.
Sorry, we're distracting from a match that...
So,
did you like this match?
Big match John against the Bulgarian brute Rusev in a flag match. John Cena wins in 21 minutes 10 seconds, which I thought was bloody long.
It felt much longer.
But he won by placing his flag into his flag holder, because they've changed the setup of a flag match. It's no longer first person to get their flag from the pole. It's now first person to retrieve their flag, then very, very slowly walk their flag up to the end of the ramp, where they have to then climb 3 steps to place their flag in a flag holder. That's how you win a flag match now. This match was all right. It wasn't great. I thought it dragged badly at times. Rusev went for the immediate flag grab, which is a standard spot for a heel, I suppose. I thought the new rules made it a bit more interesting, but instead of it being your standard kind of, the ladder pole matches where they take an unnaturally long time to climb the ladder or the ropes to get to the pole or to get to the object, instead of having it above a turnbuckle now, it was at the end of the ramp. So there was an incredible amount of slow walking going on. I'm shocked they didn't do the, rather than put it in like a little flag holder, they have to take the flag down, walk up the ramp, then attach it to a flag pole, then raise the flag up. Because you imagine how fucking much they would have had to have sold to get that fucking thing up. That would have been after 20 minutes. I think that would have been a bit more susceptible to botching. But that could have been done. So next year, when they need a patriotic Americana feud, they'll just do a flag match with that. Raise the flag match. There you go. There was a spot where Rusev set up 2 tables whilst John Cena lay prone for a good probably minute and 20 seconds. During that whole spot, I was just saying to myself, get the flag, put it in the fucking holder. Get the flag. What are you doing? He's down, get the... Oh, no. And you're thinking as well in the back of your mind, wrestling logic indicates he's setting this up. So 95% sure he's going through these tables. My notes here say, if you set up a table or you set up a weapon spot, what happens? And what happened was he set some tables up. Cena didn't go through them. They stayed there. They were at the foot of Cena's pedestal. So that kind of gave that away. After the accolade, Rusev went and got his flag. It was quite funny, actually, because when he put the accolade on and he was, like, seemingly out, he kind of slithered away and hid behind the pedestal. And you could see his head poking out to see just where Rusev was coming up the ramp with his flag. So he pops up, grabs him. They have a bit more back and forth.
I'm having flashbacks to the Giant in WCW. Do you remember that bit where he, I think it's when he wins the title at Halloween Havoc.
Yeah, he puts his head up, yeah.
He keeps lifting his head up to go like, is Hogan finished yet, brother? So he's sick.
So yeah, it ends up with Cena doing an attitude adjustment through the two tables that Rusev put up. A quite hard bump, actually. Yeah,
there's not much room to... I mean, obviously the table breaks the fall, but it doesn't really break the fall. He still slams through it.
That's the kind of bump on that hard surface where, ideally, it sounds strange, but it would have been better had he stacked the tables on top of each other to really break his fall, but alas, he didn't.
No,
he went through the tables.
He just goes straight through.
Took a big bump, looked quite hard, and John Cena placed his flag into the holder. I said on my notes that it was an okay match. It was a bit too long. Finish was quite fun, and I don't quite understand the big patriotic shtick that they're going for. But yeah, it was a match. I didn't think Cena particularly needs the backing via patriotism and Americana. And obviously, Rusev doesn't need any more evil foreigner stuff, but they keep giving it to him.
Because he's a Rusky.
Bulgarian.
I know, well, that's what Vince thinks again, going back. I kind of got sick of this match midway. I think I wrote a note on here. Where did I go? There we go. Cena finally gets up the ramp. I think this must have been the first time with the flag where Rusev stops him. Desperately want this to end there. Don't care who wins. I'm losing. It's just, I thought this was probably both of these guys' worst match for quite some time. I'm trying to recall a Cena match that's actually bored me this much because he's actually been on quite a tear recently, even with the hiccup with Del Rio in late 2015.
Yeah, I quite enjoy his work.
Yeah, he seems to have come leaps and bounds. I thought this was a very slow, boring match. It was typical WWE style, probably because we've been spoiled quite recently with all the New Japan and all the integrated new talent that they've got.
Yeah.
That don't deliver that style. I just thought it was so slow.
Yeah, so there you go. John Cena wins and he's back. And I don't quite know what is next for him, but I suppose he'll have some kind of fairly high-profile match at SummerSlam. There are kind of armchair booking rumours, but we'll go into that later, even though I think it's complete nonsense and it won't happen. But anyway, we move on. We had Fashion Files, or should I say Fashion X-Files, which was funny. They always make me laugh, and it ended on a cliffhanger. It wasn't the Ascension that trashed their office and ripped the head off of a horse or whatever it was. Tyler Breeze looks unnaturally natural, dressed up as Gillian Anderson. I thought that was quite strange. And Fandango doing Fox Mulder was a delight.
Our next match with Kanellis' theme music.
Yes, so Sami Zayn vs Mike Kanellis. Sami Zayn won this match, a rare pay-per-view win for him. He won in 7 minutes 15 seconds via pinfall using a hell of a kick. This was your piss break match, but for a piss break match, it wasn't that bad, but it was pretty throwaway.
There's some wrestling, but the Kanellis do an Eskimo kiss, fucking lol. Then they blow kisses at each other, double lol. The commentary, I've been trying to keep notes of this throughout the entire pay-per-view. Obviously, we had Rocky previously, and then we had JBL going big match John every 10 seconds when
big
John
match
won.
John
Big
Mago.
match John Mago. Everyone's got a terrible JBL impression. If you saw the match on SmackDown, it's pretty similar other than the finish. It's a nothing match. And I nearly had a fucking stroke when I accidentally flicked on my network player and realised there was still 50 minutes left of this pay-per-view.
Oh, Christ, yeah.
No.
With that in mind, we move on to your main event.
We predicted it. We apologise for predicting it.
And the intro to this episode will be that prediction. But, yeah, Jinder Mahal, India/Canada's finest, against Randy Orton in a Punjabi Prison match for the WWE title.
Who loses this match, Reese? The live crowd, because they can't see fucking anything.
You can't see fuck all watching it on TV either, but
at least we've got
I feel sorry for the live crowd.
Yeah, no, they've had they've been pretty shit, but they've had a shit show. So it's like a combination of like a double whammy of total shit, followed by this.
Go on Twitter or Reddit and find the guys, the people from the audience who were there and their photos during the match. It's absolutely dreadful.
It's an awful lot of yellow in this picture, isn't there?
Oh, it's so bad. So, yeah, Punjabi Prison match, which for some reason they must have been told by Vince to play up how, we haven't had many of these because they're really dangerous, not because they're terrible fucking eyesore of a match. Could have seen the ending, actually, because the amount of times they said, this is the match that the great Khali invented. So, obviously, that played a part. We'll get to that. But, yeah, Punjab Prison match. Jinder retained his title, 27 minutes, 40 seconds. This felt like a fucking hour.
I said before there was 50 minutes according to my network player just before the promo package. I was like, there's no fucking way on earth this can last. I'm not going to survive this.
Oh, it's so bad. Yeah, so nearly half an hour of two people that are now 3 matches into their feud and they still haven't got any fucking chemistry whatsoever.
I disagree. This is like the fucking Godfather Part 3 of this trilogy of matches. They've been fucking all right previous to this.
But you can't tell me that they have chemistry. I'll tell you who has chemistry.
Yeah, go on.
Randy Orton and the Singh brothers have chemistry. Those two blokes, those Singh brothers, have, in my opinion, been the most entertaining aspect of all fucking 3 matches that.
Only because Orton gets to kill them every pay-per-view.
And seriously, what is the best part of this match?
It's literally when who dies? Who dies? I'm so sorry.
I don't know.
I need to learn your name because that spot was
Sammy. I can't remember. But anyway, yeah, that spot when he goes through the thing is the best spot of the match. The best spot of their first match was when Orton nearly necked the pair of them.
No, he did neck, and he pulls the face.
And the most interesting spot of their second match was when they attacked his dad, and he again killed them for Mahal to win. But anyway, we have to go into it. So, my notes, how are you supposed to see a fucking thing through this bamboo? It's just such a poorly constructed match.
Steel reinforced bamboo. How many pandas suffered and died for this fucking match?
The rules of this match are pathetic. So pathetic that it was explained during the promo. Then it was explained by the ring announcer. Then it was explained again by Tom Phillips.
Because we don't think our audience are intelligent enough to understand that you have to escape both cages.
Just do a fucking cage match. It's so bad. So yeah, you've got 4 doors.
Don't fucking explain.
Well, you have to because it just plays into the match.
Don't.
So you've got 4 doors. You ask for the door to be opened. You've got a 60-second window. Obviously, no one's going to go through the door on the first time. So you have 3 of those spots where they fail. Then they wrestle, they do their thing, they throw each other into the cage. When they have one more door left, there's this moment where they're both on their knees looking at each other either side of the ring. Then they look at the door, and it's like 30 seconds of nothing, of them just staring at each other like, yeah, we've got a door to open, I'm going to get it, no, I'm going to get it. So obviously, Randy asks for the door, there's an RKO, the Singh brothers appear from under the ring, shenanigans afoot. They drag Jinder out, so Jinder escapes, starts climbing the second cage. So obviously Randy has to climb the first cage to get out. So technically he's behind Mahal and Mahal has the advantage. But when Randy climbs the first cage, then jumps over to the second cage, he's actually ahead of Mahal and has the advantage. So much so that he notices and very obviously divers and lowers himself to be the same height as Jinder on the cage. And it's just so fucking rubbish.
I've got the exact same notes.
Yeah, so it's a drop.
He's just overtaking him. Oh fuck! Go back.
So obviously, it ends up being they're in the middle part of the setup. The Singh brothers and Jinder work over Randy. Weapons come out, and this is the other thing.
Well, you're giving it a bit of disservice.
You can't have. Well, no, they had a chair and then they had the kendo stick. Or they had the kendo stick first.
Nothing. The kendo stick? What country is that from? Fuck it. Just bung it in. It sounds fine.
It looks like the rest of the ring, so let's use it. Obviously, you can't blade in these matches, so they've got to try.
Orton does get cut.
He does on his arm. As well. So they've got to put over that it's dangerous. And like all the Hell in a Cell matches that, again, no one can blade in, They get the ring steps and they use weapons to make it look dangerous. He incapacitates Jinder, beats up the Singh brothers, and then we have the big spot off of top of the bamboo with one of the Singh brothers taking a 15-foot bump through the announce table, which...
I wrote it down as Samir. I purposely wrote down his fucking name because I thought that spot deserves his fucking name to be publicised.
That was an excellent spot and the best part of the match. I've got here, my note says, holy shit, that's a fucking high bump. Well played to him for taking that, because there was no padding whatsoever. And
I was going to say, did you notice where the table cracks? His back kind of stands up on where
his back goes and his head snaps back. Yeah,
he goes arse first and his fucking body jolts forward. It looked fucking really bad. I mean, fair fucks to done. That camera angle picked up and it made the impact look much worse than what it probably was.
Yeah,
it looked bad.
So obviously Randy is in the Ascension. He's got Mahal incapacitated. He climbs up the second cage to win the match. And who should appear but the great fucking Khali? God knows.
The great fertilizer is back.
God knows where he's been this whole time. But apparently 2017 needs the great Khali to be involved in the main event.
Did you like his waltz down the ring?
Oh, his waddle, because his knees are clearly fucked. I actually quite like seeing him. I feel sorry for him, but he's probably earned himself quite a lot of money. Yeah. But yeah, I quite like the spectacle of seeing him. But then you realise it's just what kind of match this is, and it's the WWE title. Jinder fucking Mahal needs the great Khali to win. He goes up, he climbs 3 runs of the cage, which I was quite impressed with, all considering the aforementioned fucked knees. He grabs Randy by the throat. Randy did actually manage to get over the top of the cage, but he realised that Khali was quite slow coming down the ramp, so they did that wobble the cage spot, and Randy very carefully and like a ballet dancer managed to swing himself back over, but tried to make it look as though it was because of the shaking of the cage. And yeah, the great Khali held on to him by the throat. Mahal climbed the cage, jaw-jacked his way around the cage whilst he was doing it to drag it out even fucking further. And Mahal retained 28 minutes of our lives we'll never get back.
Fucking hell.
I'm begging them to end this fucking feud. He's had a terrible year for pay-per-views. Considering he started the year by winning the Royal Rumble, he's since gone on to have absolute stinkers with Bray twice and now Jinder 3 times. So I'm not entirely sure what the fuck he's doing still in the main event. It has to end now. It just has to. And yeah, I think I was quite pro Jinder Mahal being champion, but I've seen nothing to vindicate this bizarre push he's getting thanks to fucking social media numbers coming from India and Vince thinking that he can get money out of one of the poorest populations in the world. So yeah, this is all very strange, and this capped off an incredibly poor pay-per-view that went over 3 hours for a brand-specific pay-per-view. This is total garbage. Yeah, I'm going to stop venting spleen, and maybe you can say something now.
As a fan of the very first Mahal-Orton match, I'm now completely done. I've had my fill. I do not want to see these two wrestle again for quite a while. I'm happy to maybe settle forever. This match was a poorly executed cage match, as all Punjabi Prison matches are. I felt very sorry for the live crowd who couldn't see fucking anything, which means they can't actually feed into the wrestlers. They can't give them heat because they can't see fucking anything.
Yep.
I completely agree that the Singh brothers are the only two that have actually managed to get really anything out of this match.
I'd really quite like it if they actually become an actual tag team that wrestled.
I think they're a bit... The problem is they're quite small. And they're obviously against Orton and Mahal.
Have they gone through NXT?
I think, yeah, they wrestled a few times. They weren't called... I don't know if they were called the Singh brothers, though.
Bollywood boys, no?
That's it, yes, thank you. Another stereotypical Indian name, but I think that was their actual name that they came up with.
So where do we go from...
I was going to say, the match didn't have much action to it, as you rightly point out. I do not want to fucking see Great Khali in 2017 at all.
Well, you just did, I'm afraid.
I know. I don't want to fucking see him again. I don't understand anyone other than Carly's immediate family who want to see him wrestle. And even they would probably be a bit apprehensive about a man whose knees are completely fucked at this point. They were pretty fucked in 2008. You know, he'd only been with the company for about 2 years at that point. And then they basically had to relegate him to like being the fucking Punjabi playboy and all that shite.
Do you think they've brought Carly in because actually Jinder isn't doing that well with India?
No, I think they've brought him in purely because they're like, oh, we'll get another, we'll get the most famous Indian wrestler who actually did wrestle for our company and actually has some sort of like, you know, background with us.
Well, he is Indian as well, for starters.
Exactly that, and we'll bung him in a stable just to get the maybe to establish our numbers with that audience.
I wouldn't actually be against it if he does nothing but stand in the background of Mahal cutting promos.
I'd settle for him being like fucking China in 1998 with Triple H. Just literally grab someone. I mean, she used to just punt people in the bollocks, but just have him like go Rah! And then choke or chop.
Yeah, I think that might work if they insist on going with him. But again, I don't know if they're gonna. But we'll see. So yeah, that was Battleground.
This whole pay-per-view was like a fucking really bad acid trip, and I felt like I was going like up a down staircase, and this was like reaching the fucking summit of it. It was so bad, this show. It just fucking dragged from beginning of pre-show to the fucking end of the Punjabi Prison match. I can't stress this enough. This is such a bad fucking show. I was told it was bad. I didn't think it was going to be this bad. You know your pay-per-view is fucked when the tag team match, which is pretty okay, not spectacular, is the best match.
Yeah, agreed. You've hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah, what a shit show.
It was a shit show, and I think we've gone from a couple months ago with SmackDown probably being the more entertaining and better booked brand out of the two to the complete opposite now, and Raw probably has the more interesting main event scene. I think that goes without saying.
Absolutely, especially with the episode that's just concluded. I mean, I cannot wait to see what they're going to do with this Universal title with all the information that's come out regarding Brock. Yep. If it all turns out to be bollocks, I take that completely back. Dying to see what they do with the Universal title. SmackDown, all aspects of that show seem to have just collapsed in on itself. The women's division last year was great. Everyone was well booked. We have now descended into a all-right champion. I'm not as apprehensive about Naomi as you are. I can see the negative points, but I don't feel like her championship reign is doing particularly well. The main event scene, again, I had quite high hopes for Mahal because at least he was a new face in the title scene.
I'm the same as you, but I don't think he's done that well so far.
No, he needs, if his next feud doesn't pick up within the very first pay-per-view, I'd say this is a dud because it's not worked thus far. He's had 3 months with Orton, or how long has this been on for? Quite
long, 3 pay-per-views, so it's every other pay-per-view, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So that hasn't worked. One massive gimmick which has just flopped entirely. And Cena, his big return with Rusev, who we've desperately missed, and a lot of people have missed, and their match was a dud.
Yeah, you're right. And
SmackDown just looks meh.
You know,
and that's not including the US title as well. I completely forgot about that with the fucking finish as well.
Yeah. Supposedly, Rusev was supposed to get this push that Mahal's getting right now, and obviously hindsight's 2020 and all that. I don't know if he'd have done much better, but it would have still been the same evil foreigner shtick.
Which is both boring at this point. I mean,
boring. It's 2017.
World Wrestling Entertainment, 2017. I know, it's like fucking...
The world is full of really tolerant and diverse millennials. No one's, well, I say that, but then the country in which this company resides does have an incredibly right-wing tosser for a president. So there you go.
Hey, he's a WWE Hall of Famer.
He is.
And he'll rightly point out that WrestleMania 23 is the highest grossing fucking pay-per-view ever or something.
Massive numbers. Huge numbers.
Do you remember his Hall of Fame speech? Vince has tried to overtake this pay-per-view. He's tried. Hasn't done it.
He is still the only president to receive a Stone Cold Stunner as well. So there you go.
Oh, he was game as well. Did you not hear his Austin's podcast?
Yeah.
An advisor basically told him, absolutely not, he's not taking the stone. He said, Vince, will that make the match better? And he went, yes. So fair fucks to him. He's a terrible human being, but he will, do it for entertainment's sake.
Right. So that brings an end to Battleground. Do you have any further comments to make on Battleground?
No, it's a terrible show, and I would like to predict that SmackDown will get much better. I don't know how. I'm not going to make any, more accurate assumptions, but it can only go up from this, surely. It can't get worse.
Cena Nakamura, book it.
That would be good. Do you think they'd let Nakamura kick the shit out of their MVP, though?
Cena has been nothing but game to go strong style before. We'll see. That's just armchair booking, and we will eagerly await what happens next. So, yeah, Battleground's over. Let's put a fork in that and never speak of it again.
Get out, Ghost.
You can, of course, catch us on Twitter at SWA_podcast. I haven't actually plugged this in a while. We have got an email address, which is smarkswithoutattitude@gmail.com. I have no idea if we've got emails. I highly doubt it. But if you
one fan's emailed us.
If you feel inclined to email us, please do. We'll read it out, or probably not. Who knows? We are on SoundCloud, so search for Smarks Without Attitude on SoundCloud. You'll find us. And we are on iTunes. Again, search Smarks Without Attitude. You can subscribe, and we'll always have the latest couple of episodes online there. So, thank you very much. We'll see you again soon. Toodaloo.
Goodbye.